This is On the Money with financial advisor Ryan Wheelis, the founder of Allied Wealth, right here in Houston and, more importantly, all around the great state of Texas, Austin as well. Folks, we're trying to hope that you are hearing us sound the retirement bell. I have been wanting to use the phrase, and I gotta ask you if you're okay with it, the retirement crisis. I really do think for some people out there, it's a retirement crisis. We're in our late 50s, we're in our early 60s, not sure if we saved enough. We've been helping the kids out there. Income is what creates your retirement. I know it's not always about just the dollars and cents. It's about lifestyle. But, Ryan, we really have to talk to people about how you create income, how you do it, and the ups and downs and some of the potholes that people don't see when it comes to income planning. Would you call it a crisis?
Spike, it's absolutely a crisis. I mean, think about this. We're always taught to replace, I've heard 100% of your income. I've heard of 120% of your income. Mm-hmm. I've heard more than that in some cases. But the reality is, like, how much do you need? Like, what do you need, right? And so I met with some folks recently who came to one of our retirement master classes, and they're stressed out as can be. And this lady's like, okay, I have this lump sum pension. It's $375,000. I'm like, okay, cool. And I asked her, I said, any idea what that pension pays you in a monthly payment? She said, we're not doing that. We're going to take the money and invest it ourselves. And Spike, I start looking and I go, hang on a second. This pension pays you $96,000 a year. And you want to take a $375,000 lump sum. She's like, well, yeah, if I die, there's nothing left for my kids. And I'm like, well, just stop. Wait a minute here. How are we going to take $375,000 and get it to produce $96,000 a year in income? Can you do the math on that for me? She's like, it's about a 30% return. I've done the math. I'm like, man, I don't understand your mindset here. Retirement is not about how much money you have. Retirement's about income. Without income, there is no retirement. Mm-hmm. All right? And so you are working and you have the ability to replace 100% of your income plus Social Security. You're set. The rest of it can be invested, and let's use those dollars to leave an inheritance for the kids. Maybe even in your case, we buy some life insurance to leave an inheritance to the kids. But, man, we're not about to forego an $8,000 a month pension for a $375,000 lump sum. We're not doing that. That's absurd. So, Spike, it's one of these things where I think a lot of people don't get that retirement is not about how much money you have. It's about how much income you have. And so this same lady, by the way, her husband's also putting money in a 401k. And they weren't factoring in that they're saving about 20% a year in savings. And I said, guys, let's think about this. If your income right now is $100,000 a year while you're working, and you're saving 20% a year, okay, what do you stop doing in retirement, Spike?
You stop the saving part.
You stop saving. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. You just move from the accumulation mode, the saving and accumulation and growth mode, okay, to the preservation, income, and distribution mode. That's all that happens. It's not that big of a deal. It does take a mindset shift, though, okay? And when you make that mindset shift, guess what you don't need? You don't need the $20,000 a year or 20% of your income you're putting away anymore, right? That 20% was actually an expense. You were paying for your retirement out of that, which is an expense to you. Once you shift to retirement, that expense goes away. And if you're making $100,000 a year, now you can easily survive on 80 because you were already doing that, right? So I don't believe that you need the 100% of your income out of the gate. I just don't. Okay. Now, maybe you do, depending on what you're saving. Maybe you want to ramp up your spending. Okay. And if that's you, that's fine. We do what we call a plan based upon 3 phases. Number 1 is your go-go years. That is where you retire. And what happens, Spike, when you retire?
You want to do stuff. You want to see the grandkids. You want to travel.
When is Saturday when you retire?
Every single day.
Every day. Every day is Saturday, right? And it's Saturday. And so if you probably look per capita, I bet there's some research you could pull out there. I bet the majority of money in America is spent on a Saturday. Would you agree with that?
I step out my door on a Saturday to start my honeydew list. I feel like $100 falls out of my pocket. I step out the door, $100 gone.
I've got
Easy.
a family of 4. I can barely go to breakfast for the kids in Cali for less than 50.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we like I can't even get out of Denny's for less than $50 these days.
Yeah,
you know, my kids love the Grand Slam. By the way, it's hilarious. And so, you know, the bottom line here is you've got your go-go years, and sometimes we do spend more money in those go-go years. Okay.
Well, what about the vacations? Let's add that stuff. The travel. Hopefully, if we're healthy enough, we want to go see Greece, and we want to go for 3 weeks because we don't have to go back to work, or want to go to Rome, or you want to go take a flight and go overseas, go east. You know, that stuff costs a lot, and we're going to want to do that earlier in retirement, right?
That's why we model the go-go year portion of your plan. So we usually go, all right, look, if you're making $100,000 a year now, let's spend $120,000 the first 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Let's get your traveling done. All right. And then we go to your slow-go years where you start slowing down some. You know, you travel the world, you've seen things go, and maybe that's the next 10 years of your plan. Okay. So if somebody who's retiring at 60, for instance, they're now 80. All right. And then we go through the slow-go years and we move into the no-go years. Because it's 80, 85 years of age, I'm not quite sure I'm going to get on the plane and go to Greece again. Hopefully I've done it, right? So get that into the no-go years because you're get up and go, done got up and went. All right? So the thing I want you to understand, folks, is that in some cases, depending on what your aspirations are for travel and expenditures in retirement, you may feel a little behind the 8 ball. You may feel like you've not saved enough. Well, if that's you, just understand this. It is possible to subtract whatever percentage of savings you've got going on, okay? And you don't need that much income coming in, all right? You can reduce the amount of income you need by what you're saving because when you retire, you stop doing that, all right? In spite, you know, it's just an important thing. And then we can do a plan for you based on the go-go, slow-go, and no-go years, all right? But the bottom line is, retirement's not anything to do with how much money you have. It's all about income. The folks I was talking about when we opened up the segment here, their income is not huge. Okay? It's not. They're, you know, $120,000, $130,000 a year in combined income. But the wife's pension is massive because she works for a municipality. She works for the county. And they're going to be set with it, right? And so, you know, it's one of these things where they understand now by working with me that retirement's not about how much money you have because from a saving standpoint, they don't have a lot, Spike. That's why she was so bent and determined on taking that $375 lump sum because when they had the $375, they got to $1 million and they felt like they needed $1 million to be able to retire.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
And
So we've talked about that before. People looking for a target number. You know, does this mean I can retire? I've hit $1 million. I've hit 1.5. I've hit 2 million. It's not about a target number. It's about you as a financial advisor and your whole team helping people figure out what they're going to spend every month for the next 35 years.
And adjusting that for spending patterns that we've seen over the last 16, 17 years of being in this industry, serving retirement folks, right? It's what we do.
Yeah.
And so,
Ryan, have we also said, though, that there's a lot of spending with those go-go years. We're enjoying things. Every day is a Saturday. We're enjoying the grandkids, travel. Maybe as we start to slow down, we start to enjoy the Netflix or our home, but then we might start doing some home improvements, so there can be some cost there. But doesn't our cost expenditure also start to go up as we get into those late 80s and 90s? Don't we have to start taking into account those healthcare costs later into retirement?
Well, you do in some cases, depending on your health. If you're reasonably healthy, then you know not a ton. What can get you, Spike, is the need to cover long-term care, right? That can get you. And yes, as you get older, you might have more deductibles and that sort of thing to pay. You know, and that's something you need to consider. But as far as the spending goes, meaning the enjoyment of retirement, the vacations and all that sort of stuff, it usually is not linear. It's kind of in a curve, and it peaks around age 75. Okay? And let me back up for a second. You said something that's super important. You said home improvements.
Yes.
folks, get them done before you retire. If you're 60 right now and you're thinking about retirement, and you also in the next 2 years want to spend $100,000 on a home remodel, do yourself a favor. Work one more year and put your entire paycheck towards that home remodel if you've prepared well enough for retirement. Just work it. Get paid for it. If you want to buy the RV, pay for it while you're working. If you want to buy the truck to pull it, pay for it while you're working. Just work a little bit longer to pay that stuff. Because when you put big demands on your portfolio like that, it really, really impacts the longevity of your money, folks. All right? So the point here, Spike, is
income.
The stuff we're talking about is like, how do you turn, your money into income, right? And so part of what we do for a handful of listeners on our show and the podcast, we can't do it for everybody, okay, is we want to walk you through a plan analysis that we call our financial flight plan, all right? And, this value we deliver for folks, by the way, Spike, it's usually about $1,500. But folks that calling off the YouTube channel and the show, we do this work in an effort to get to know you and potentially earn your business, folks. I won't hide that from you, okay? So we're talking about highly effective strategies to turn your savings into income in retirement while also minimizing risk. And how to squeeze every dollar out of the Social Security system that's already rightfully yours, all right? Talking about strategies to legally pay fewer taxes in retirement so you can keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket and put less in Uncle Sam's, who is a terrible, terrible spender of your money, by the way. All right? And plus, how it can help protect you from the skyrocketing cost of healthcare, inflation, and the ever-present volatility of the stock market. These are all things we do, folks, for folks just like you, okay? Big value here, all right? Get it. All you got to do is call us.
844-944-7555 is the phone number for Ryan. We're going to get you started on your own financial flight plan. As Ryan says, there are firms that you may have heard will charge $1,500, $2,000, $4,000 to put together your retirement plan. Here at Allied Wealth, there is no cost for us to put together that financial flight plan. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and yes, we would like to work with you and create that relationship through the rest of your retirement years. But to do that work, to show you what your retirement could look like, is no cost to you. For our radio listeners and for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, call the phone number, 844-944-7555. That's 844-944-7555. Or if you want to, you can go to the website, one of our landing pages, and schedule it yourself. Go to retirenowhouston.com or retirenowAustin.com. Ryan, why don't you land this plane for us? We got to close up the show.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for tuning in and listening. Check us out on the YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, On the Money, Allied Wealth, On the Money, Ryan Wheelis. And tune in next week. We've got great more content coming out for you.
And if you're watching us on the YouTube, call that phone number, 844-944-7555. This has been On the Money with Ryan Wheelis. We'll be back next week.